We now want to take you to Mombasa, where the Engineers Summit of 2021 is ongoing, and O'Brien Kimani is on the ground there to bring us the latest on that Engineers Summit of 2021. O'Brien.
Very well, Betty Kiptum, as you have rightly put it, we are camping here at the coast to give you an update of what is happening here in terms of the ongoing 28th forum of Institution of Kenya Engineers. And of course, this meeting is expected to take place in the next 5 days, starting with today. Of course, today the meeting is about how to include more women in the profession. And one of the barriers that has been identified as a major barrier to women becoming engineers is, of course, a cultural background. The other one, of course, is weak financial background, where we heard from the Engineers Board of Kenya, where they said that they are partnering with learning institutions to see how they can encourage more ladies, to join the trade. Time now to focus on something else. Consulting engineers. That's a different animal altogether. Interesting enough is that we have about 40 consulting engineers in Kenya who are women, out of more than 3,000 that are there. So quite a small number again, if you ask me. And now I want to talk to the chairperson of ASEC, that is the association, the CEO of ASEC, that is Engineer Ogembo. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Engineer. We were having this conversation with you, and I was asking you, 40 consulting engineers in a population of about 50 million people. That's quite a small number. And I was asking you, how do we prop up this number?
Okay.
I'll hold it for you.
Thank you. And I'll correct you on that just a little bit. Mm-hmm. We have 14 consulting engineer, registered consulting engineers who are women. Mm-hmm. Yeah, compared to the men, then that's just a drop in the ocean.
Exactly.
And of the 14, we only have 3 firms that are women-led consulting firms. Mm-hmm. So really, it should worry us. It should worry us.
So once we get worried, what do we do?
So we're working, we're encouraging women to take their position, because our constitution is very supportive of women right now. We talk of 30%, but unless we have the women take their position, then we still cannot realize the 30%. So what we've been doing is to encourage the women to transition from professional engineers to consulting engineers, mm-hmm. and even from consulting engineers to now brave it all out there. I know that the field has not been very level for women, mm-hmm. but at least now we have the backing of the constitution, we have the backing of the law. Mm-hmm. So women just need to take their position. They just need to believe that they can, and they will. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Making or motivating more women to join the engineering fraternity is pain enough. Now, consulting, helping them to become consulting engineers is likely to be even more tougher. Why is this the case?
I think we just need to be cognizant of the challenges that women face as women engineers. You see, nothing really separates us from other women. We have societal expectations. We really want to play in more like a known environment. Mm-hmm. But you see, braving it even further to be, now you want your trade, your tool of trade is your technical expertise. Yes. And now that's really what makes it even more challenging, because you are dealing with the society, you're dealing with family, you're dealing with all these other women issues. But then remember, your tool of trade again is now what you can put on the table. It comes with a myriad of challenges, yeah? But again, just as I say, women can do it. And what we are doing, the narrative we are selling out there amongst ourselves, and that's one of the reasons why we are holding such summits, that we want to encourage, just as we are encouraging the graduate engineers to be professional engineers and the professional engineers to be the consulting engineers. We believe women can do it. And unless we believe, then we are not likely to increase the number. So all that we are doing is to create awareness, to talk to the women out there and just tell them that you can create your position on the table.
Very well. The fact that you're standing here and talking about matters to do with women in consulting, the question then comes, so how do they break those barriers, to become the Ogembo of tomorrow?
You see, of course, just as I've explained, that the law is now very supportive of women. We are part of the disadvantaged group. So the jobs are there. While, initially it was more like a man's field. And the narrative that I've just said that we are selling is that women need to now know that we are not talking about Kenya of yesterday. We are talking about an improved version of our country, because now we have a backing of the law. You can actually walk into an office and say, you know what, I think you're being very unfair to women. We need our 30%. But you see the question that we're also getting from these agencies, that where are the women to give the jobs? How do we then talk about the 30% if you don't present yourself? Yes, so the whole thing again is really because we have it all packaged together. We already registered as consulting engineers, even the 14. Actually for us right now is to even see the 14 transition so that we see the 3 moving from 3 to 14.
The question is this then, when you look at the environment, do you believe that the ground is well leveled, for both men and women to venture into the field of consulting engineering?
Leveled, I would say not extremely leveled. It's really not leveled. But again, just as I've said, we have the backing of the law.
Why do you think it is not leveled?
It's not leveled because, you see, ordinarily the society seems to give more opportunities to our male counterparts without looking like, we are always hitting on the men. But generally, that is the societal expectation. However, we still can break that. And because now we have the backing of the law, and I'll actually talk about that, because you see that 30%, actually it pains me that we are not able to get the 30%, and not necessarily because they are not willing to give the jobs to the 30%, but just because no one is there to take the 30%.
How did you end up being a consulting engineer, Engineer Ogengo?
I'm not a consulting engineer myself. I'm still a professional engineer. However, I am the CEO of the association, and so I'm also working towards, because I'm creating the business space for the rest, and that's why I'm really, really championing, and of course I have to lead from the very front.
Oh, so you don't have to be a consulting engineer for you to be the CEO of Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya?
That's extremely administrative. That's extremely administrative. It's only that now, of course, what we are selling, the narrative we are selling is engineering. So it makes it very easy for an engineer to sell engineering policies, to, of course, advocate for engineering businesses out there.
I mean, from your interaction with consulting engineers, what lessons have you learned that you are likely to advise young people who would be willing to join the Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya?
If I got you right, yes, there's so much that we've learned. There's a lot that can still be done, a lot of advocacy that is ongoing as we speak. And there are businesses out there. There's money in it, actually.
Oh, there's money?
Oh, yes, there is money in it.
Listen, you may not go in for anything else, but there is money if your motivation is actually money. So there is money, you can confirm that, and you have made it.
Yeah, there is. There is. Yeah, there's I would say, relatively, yes. There's money in consulting.
There is money in consulting. I can see the chairperson. Are you the chairperson of Women Engineers Chapter? You have had the issues about money and you came in. Did you come to confirm that yes, indeed, there is money in consulting, or you're here to say that's absolutely lies?
Thank you very much. Money exists, opportunities exist. It's really how much you want to make that matters, and you must set your target. So, across board, everybody looks at money from a different perspective. Yes. And
we were discussing how women can, and the fact that we have 14 consulting engineers who are women in Kenya. And our verdict is the number is very small. From where you stand, and because of your tremendous years of experience, how do you encourage more women to get into that field?
That's a very interesting question. How to encourage them? We've come up with a program that we are going to roll out so that the consulting engineers adopt the professional engineers and show them the way. Unless somebody holds your hand and tells you this is how it's done, most of us work in government, and you see, when you work in government, then you really cannot jump into the consulting field because there'll be the issue of how are you having 2 jobs at the same time? So you have to decide. For them who made the decision, like our first Vice President, Engineer Lucy here, she made a go as being a consulting engineer at a very young age. She decided, this is what I want to go.
Engineer Lucy is a consulting engineer, and she's
not entrepreneur. She's an entrepreneur.
An entrepreneur engineer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And you want to get into the field of consulting engineering?
So basically, in engineering, we have different levels. So you start as a student engineer, you become a graduate engineer, then a professional engineer, and then consulting engineer. So I'm at the level of a professional engineer, but before becoming a consultant, I cannot set up a consulting firm, but I have a limited company.
So from where you are now, the next step that you are going to take, you become a consulting engineer?
Yes, after 5 years of being a PE and rolling out projects as a professional engineer, my next step is to be a consulting, so I'll be a combined entrepreneur and a consulting engineer.
How tough has it been for you to cover that journey?
Actually, setting up a business in Kenya is not an easy thing. You have the capital requirement to start, and you have the myriad regulations sometimes that sort of clash. So if you want to set up a factory, for instance, you will find you have so many arms coming to tell you, you need this license, you need this license. And the challenge that I would like to roll out to the regulating agencies, perhaps we need to have a centralized way of approving when, e.g., you're setting up a company. Because people lose hope in, you've got this license,